Whilst his lightning acceleration, his mesmerising dribbling, and his clinical finishing are all the main attributes that everyone could talk about with Kylian Mbappé, it's actually these attributes that go under the radar that we will be covering in this video that make Kylian Mbappé arguably the best player on the planet at the moment. He's not even in his peak, but he's already had an incredible career, breaking through at Monaco on the left wing but basically playing as a centre forward in Leonardo Jardim's 4-4-2. But his stint at Monaco wouldn't last long as he was eventually snapped up by PSG, and that's where Mbappé remains till this day, but maybe not until the summer. But to play like Kylian Mbappé, you essentially have to do little, and whilst it does seem like an odd thing to say about one of the world's best players, that's exactly why the Frenchman is so good. He picks his moments, he isn't one to press and constantly harry his opponents, he waits like a predator, before striking out of nowhere like a lion in the wild. But we'll start off with Kylian Mbappe's obvious attributes and then come on to the ones that people seem to overlook. And the main one is obviously his unerring knack of finishing, and on the world's biggest stage he's simply second to none in the world game when it comes to finding the net. When he's in front of goal, he's composed and decisive, knowing exactly what he wants to do and where he wants to put the ball almost before he's even received it. And his technique is impeccable, whether this is a first time finish inside of the box, a low drilled strike from the edge into the far or near corner, or as he produced in the World Cup final, a scintillating first time volley. And so to finish like Kylian Mbappé, you essentially just have to be technically perfect, which all comes down to your practice. Mbappe's finishing is so good, he doesn't even have to think about it. And that inner confidence is essentially what makes him so decisive and composed in these finishing situations, even in the biggest games. But he's able to get in these sorts of goal scoring positions because of two attributes, his acceleration and pace, but also his movement inside of the box as well. Often Mbappé lingers on the shoulder of the centre-back or full-back before herring through in behind defences, as he did against Real Madrid, being able to burst in behind centre-backs and absolutely leave them for dead. And when he gets into these sorts of positions around the box, he's ice cold, as rather than rushing his decision and trying to get a shot off as early as possible, he's able to use his composure to set himself, but also has the awareness to identify where the defenders are leaving space. If they jump out abruptly to close him down, he can skip past them and drive into the space. But if they sit off him as Alaba did for Real Madrid, he can just open up his body and get a shot away quickly, more often than not finding the net, and it's this unpredictability in his game which makes him so hard to defend. And so if you want to play like Mbappé, you need to develop this kind of unpredictability, developing different ways of finishing and getting past defenders in different scenarios so that the defender cannot anticipate what you're going to do next, and this often leads to them standing off you, giving you that space to then take advantage. And he seems to be able to score almost every type of goal as well, from a variety of different finishing situations as well. In front of goal, he can round the keeper, he can delicately chip them from close range, thrash the ball beyond the opponent, or carefully place the ball with precise accuracy. In short, his unpredictability makes him almost unstoppable. And because of his searing pace combined with his enormous reputation, opposition defenders now have to almost treat him differently to every other player in world football. Now, instead of playing a reckless high defensive line, Mbappe's opponents might drop off to keep the Frenchman in front of them, which can be a big mistake, and this is because Mbappé can dribble as well. Whether this is with space in front of him, enabling him to drop a shoulder quickly, wrong foot the defender, sending them off balance, and then use his acceleration to burst into that open space, or whether this is in congested areas as it was against Real Madrid, wherefrom he can use his quick feet and his close ball control to drift past players and glide into shooting positions. Mbappé can do both. And so if you want to mould your game and play like Mbappé, it's not just enough to have the clinical finishing ability of a forward, you also need that natural acceleration, quick feet and dribbling ability to be a significant threat from outside of the box and particularly in wide positions as well. But his most underrated attribute is arguably his movement inside of the box, and this comes particularly when the ball is in wide positions, as Mbappé is able to use his awareness and his reading of the game to use double movements in order to manipulate the defender's position before then taking advantage of the space that's created. And he can do this by feinting as though he's going to make a run towards the near post, seeing the defender move into that space, before then quickly dropping a shoulder, changing direction and bursting into the space from where he can then receive a cross or a pass, receiving the ball in a high value shooting position. And this comes not just from training and experience during matches, but also watching footage of the best strikers in the world. And Mbappé was known to be a massive fan of Cristiano Ronaldo, as well as players like the Brazilian Ronaldo as well. And so by watching these players, you're able to look at their movement, and then you can take it into a game and use the same sort of movements in order to create goal scoring opportunities for yourself as well. And so to be like Kylian Mbappé and play like him, you need an incredible change of pace in order to accelerate away from defenders at a moment's notice. But you also need to be able to fine-tune your close ball control and dribbling skills in order to be a threat from out wide and outside of the box as well, which will then subsequently allow you to get into more shooting positions around the box.